Well, everyone, we got a lot to discuss. The Destiny dev update has been released by the team outlining changes coming to the game. Instead of the traditional format of these kinds of videos, I'm just going to be going down the list saying what things are and then immediately giving thoughts. If you just want to read the information, it is in the description. Background video is probably just a raid or something. Not really important. There might be some text going over what I say. Let's go. First up is Eververse. Bungie admits that Eververse went too far and that they're trying to tip the scales back towards the player by doing the following. 1. Shifting the balance of new content in favor of activity rewards over bright engrams. 2. Provide a gameplay path to earn bright engrams. And 3. Give players more direct purchase options for items. In addition, Crimson Days will provide an emote, weapon skin, and exotic sparrow by actually doing activities. Players will earn double engrams at level up, 1 crimson and 1 regular bright engram for the entire event. Crimson engrams can drop from doing the Crimson Days match and from doing crimson milestones on each character, and each engram is strongly weighted to give you something new, at least until you have everything. I think this is basically what people wanted with Eververse, besides just completely eliminating the store. Bungie was never going to completely remove the Eververse. Just wasn't going to happen, and if you thought it was, I really don't know what to tell you. They were never going to remove it. A thing I didn't like about Eververse, and I still don't like, is just how generic it was to get items. It's too generic. You just go do anything and you just get some stuff. It works in Overwatch, sorta. It doesn't work in Destiny. It doesn't create any sort of emotional response at all, getting stuff from Eververse, that is. I got more excited for Holtzman getting a Nano Phoenix raid ship a few days ago when we did some Destiny 1 raids for a stream than I have for anything in Destiny 2 from a Bright Engram. If they want items to have some sort of impact, they should come from doing activities specifically. We've been over this plenty of times. This is why loot feels meaningless in the game. You can get max level from doing public events and heroic strikes and yada yada. We'll talk about this briefly later. I'm fine with a store existing, but it got taken way too far, and scaling it back was the only thing I expected Bungie to do, which at least they did. The Crimson Days adjustments is how I think everyone was hoping the Dawning would be. I'm glad to see they made adjustments there, because if Crimson Days was exactly like the Dawning, the community would have exploded, and rightfully so. Next, Bungie thinks XP rates are still too slow. Their first attempt at fixing it was super buggy, so they're trying something else that we will find out about later. I agree that, quote, it's too slow in general and lopsided towards grinding specific activities, which is not a fun grind, end quote. Just don't try to hide anything, Bungie. Just be clear what limits us and what doesn't. Just be clear. Okay, so the first update is January 30th, and the first thing in that update is Masterwork Armor. Works the same way as weapons for the most part. The perk reduces the damage you take while you're in your super. You can reroll the armor stat type on the Masterwork, and otherwise it's basically the same kind of format. A lot of questions here. Does the damage reduction stack with multiple pieces of armor? I would guess yes, and while in PvE it doesn't sound exciting, in PvP, I think supers are kind of weak right now in terms of survivability because of team shotting, at least for the melee-based supers. So I'm all for more survivability in supers in PvP. We just need to find out how much of a damage reduction it is. That being said, overall, the perk's just kind of not as interesting, so I'd like to see this bumped up, or maybe Bungie can give us something where we have the option to choose what a Masterwork perk does. Also, does the stat thing mean we pick resilience, mobility, or recovery? Because if so, that's sort of a band-aid fix to recovery being the best stat by letting everyone just stack recovery, but it doesn't get to the core issue of resilience and mobility being way worse than recovery overall. Raid reward rework. Try saying that 3 times fast. Updating raid rewards to make them more interesting, coming with mods with raid-specific perks, And raid items will drop from each major encounter in a raid. The raid vendor will now also sell armor and weapons from the raids that you can buy with your tokens. They are also adding a ghost with raid perks to the loot pool of the final bosses, with Bungie wanting to make more raid and activity unique rewards. Raid perks are good. I really don't know why they left. I guess it's because Bungie didn't want to pressure people into having to use the raid armor, but when raid armor looks badass, I really don't think it's too much of a problem. I really liked raid perks in Wrath of the Machine. I purposefully did not use an exotic because the armor bonuses were so good. So that's good, I guess, getting some raid-specific perks back into the game again, but I just don't know why they ever left. I'm not sure how much I like both raid drops getting increased and the vendor selling individual items. I feel like both of these changes will make it really easy to get a full set of gear really quickly, and people already kind of complain about the grind being too short, nor does it really do a whole lot for people with hundreds of tokens from the raid already. I'm sure it's not as much of a problem as I'm making it seem to be, but it's just something that worries me a little bit. I know people hate getting tokens as drops though. So that's coming on January 30th. Next, we have the February update, which is just February, sometime in February. Strike scoring and high score tracking. Strike scoring is coming to the Nightfall and is replacing the current time limit mechanic. Remember when I said Bungie was just going to get rid of that? I was off by a couple of months, but yeah, saw that one coming. But I do like me some strike scoring. However, they are changing scoring a little bit to emphasize competitive execution of strike objectives and support for player selectable score modifiers. Very nice. High scores will be exposed in-game via new emblems and will unlock rewards, with clan and community high scores in the works. I really liked strike scoring in Destiny 1. And I was really sad that they didn't do anything remotely interesting with it back then, nor was it really that impactful, nor was it really that hard to get gold scores. So here's hoping that Bungie embraces the system a little bit more here. It is only for Nightfall, at least at this time. I would like to see it expanded into heroics and just in general. I think strike scoring is cool. I think it's a cool infinite skill cap activity for people to go do if they're bored and actually want to try hard in PvE. I'm pretty sad to see the timer go away, but I guess it was inevitable due to the complaints of not being able to solo or the pressure of having to go faster than a snail's pace. Armor Mods 2.0, they are getting a full rework aimed for a February release, but this could be pushed to later if they don't get it done in time. I imagine it's a pretty daunting task to rework the entire mod system. The only thing that we know that they're doing with mods is, quote, "This will focus on reducing redundant mods, more unique theming, and greatly increasing their impact on your power," end quote. This is good. It needed to happen. How mods were released as they were, I'm really not too sure, because it's not really an important game system. I don't really care about mods at all. I don't care about modding my gear, and I certainly would like to care about it. I think this could be way more interesting. But until we hear more about how they plan on changing things, it's really tough to comment further other than good. You should rework them. Next, some more minor stuff. Adjusting game mode rules to increase the pace of gameplay and power ammo acquisition in quick play. This is fine. PC Tower text chat is getting added to the game in February. Something that probably should have been in the game in the first place, but alright. Exotic repetition reduction will prevent people from getting the same exotic twice in a row, but you will still get duplicates of exotics, just not consecutively. I thought the protection was going to be a bit more aggressive than this. I figured we'd still get duplicates, I thought it would be more aggressive. Finally, in February, you can see your fire team members on the destination map when you're out patrolling. About time. That's another one to add to the should have been in the game in the first place list, but it's better than not having it. Then we move to spring 2018, starting with the Crucible. First up, private matches are back. Maybe not something the game really needs at the moment, but it is something that the game should have at some point. Then we have some form of ranked play being introduced. We have the Valor system, where you have a progression rank that goes up as you complete matches, no loss penalties or anything like that. Then we have the Glory system, which is a progression rank that goes up when you win and down when you lose. That's all we have on this system. Still a lot of unknowns about it. I think one of the bigger things to make this successful is just finding ways to push people back into the Crucible. People do not like the Crucible right now. People do not like the team shotting, although this does seem it'll be utilized in the competitive playlist, which simply promotes more teaming up into fire teams. Yeah, it's a good start. It's something good to have as a baseline, but I don't know if only a number on an emblem is going to be enough for people to actually care. I think there needs to be good rewards attached, good incentives attached for this to have a major impact when it releases. Destiny has already lost a ton of PvP players, so if there are good sandbox changes or there are good incentives connected to this ranked sort of system, then I think we can see this pay out some dividends. But again, until we hear a little bit more on how the whole system is going to work and how in-depth it's going to be, all we can really say is, okay. Next, we have 6v6 making a return in addition to 4v4. We have Mayhem returning as a limited time event in Season 3, and then just additional fixes to Crucible to make quitting less common and behind-the-scenes security improvements. 6v6, I think some people were happy to hear that, but I hope that Bungie has some new maps with that 6v6 introduction, because trying to play 6v6 on 4v4 tuned maps is probably going to be kind of tough. I totally would not mind at all if Bungie wanted to bring back some favorite PvP maps from Destiny 1 in order to try out 6v6 in Destiny 2, but I imagine there will be a couple of original maps built for 6v6 in Destiny 2. Mayhem coming back at all is a good thing in my book. As long as they fix the Nova glitch, I am all for it. I wouldn't mind Mayhem being back permanently, because it's easily my most enjoyed playlist. The success of 6v6 is going to depend on the sandbox. I think people are really concerned about 6v6 being even more team shot oriented, because there's just more people, and time to kill times are slightly slower in Destiny 2 compared to Destiny 1, and people have gotten used to team shotting and sticking with their teammates for a while now, so players might not want to shift their playstyle. Much like many of the other situations, there isn't quite enough info here yet to determine if 6v6 will be successful or impactful. Then we have a bunch of other stuff to just run down, also for Spring 2018. The Weapon and Ability Balance Pass for Season 3 was really hoping to hear about any insights about this right now, as opposed to a couple of months from now. Kind of wanted to see where they're going or what they're thinking with this. There will be an exotic armor and weapon balance patch, a comprehensive design pass to make exotics stand out a bit more. I'm all for that. Seasonal reputation. Specific vendors will now display a seasonal ranking. Earning rep will unlock unique seasonal rewards and will reset each season. It's cool with me. Improvements on Iron Banner and faction rallies. Fine, very nondescript here again. Here's a big one. Endgame player pursuits. Agree with feedback on the imbalance between achievement-based versus bright engram-based rewards. Bungie wants to shift more rewards to specific endgame pursuits instead of generic XP farming. Yes. This is my biggest problem with endgame pursuit. I'm not even necessarily looking for more tangible rewards, although that would be nice, but just more goals. I just want more goals. Enough with the generic, go do a thing and get a bright engram. Direct me to go do something. Have the things I earn be meaningful. Have my gear be meaningful. Have the things I do be meaningful. Multi-emotes, multiple slots for multiple emotes bought from the Eververse. Really surprised this didn't happen sooner with how much Eververse is pushed. You'd think they want people to fill up those emote slots with Eververse emotes, but I guess we're just getting to it now. Vault space. They're adding 50 slots and an exotic accessory tab for sparrows, ships, and ghosts. Really hoping to see the legendary version of this return as well. Again, not sure why this wasn't around from the get-go. Why get rid of it from Destiny 1? I don't know. PC clan chat. In addition to the tower chat being targeted for February, they are adding clan chat for PC. Throw that one onto the should have been there since launch list. But again, I will take it. Heroic Strikes getting modifiers is the final thing on the spring 2018 list. Again, another thing probably should have been there from the beginning. Finally, the fall 2018 or sooner list. We have item collections and records, weapon slot and archetype improvements, additional Crucible playlists like Rumble. Where is Rift? Someone find Rift. Better clan rewards, Masterwork exotics, pinnacle weapon and gear improvements, trials improvements, shaders and dismantling. I really hope they push that one forward. The future of guided games. Very interested to see what they do with that. And then addressing solo versus fire team matching. All pretty important stuff, but very vague at this point. Okay, that's everything. That was a lot. All in all, final thoughts, overall thoughts. Oh, I don't know how to feel anymore. I really don't. Part of me just wants to be like, hooray, things are happening. Yay, this is nice. But then part of me is like, well, we need to wait until DLC 2, probably even longer for any very substantial changes to happen, or how much credit can I give Bungie for re-implementing things that we already had that people liked? Putting in this stuff builds us back up to a good baseline, which is good. But then part of me is like, why are we rebuilding again? How many more times must we rebuild and go through game-altering fixes and changes? What the game needs are immediate impact changes or additions that are drastic, things that people will feel right away. But Bungie isn't going to be able to make those game-altering changes this quickly, and I understand that, and I think most people do. Bungie probably made a giant list and organized and planned in a way where they're able to do smaller, less impactful things sooner while developing the larger, more drastic changes over time because, I think that makes sense. The things listed for release earlier than others were probably things that either were already in the works or were issues with more simple solutions. But that doesn't change the fact that these aren't things that make impacts that the game needs or that people want right now, despite the fact that, yes, Eververse, gear, and mods all need major changes. Mods aren't flashy fixes to the public eye. Eververse getting changed isn't going to bring people back to the game or motivate people to grind a ton. And maybe a little. Raid gear getting buffed up isn't going to swing people back into things. I do want to emphasize that the things we're getting are good. It's not like they're bad changes or fixes. They all improve the game. Bungie is listening, as they love to say. But it's just the feeling of, why did it have to come to this, that I think annoys a lot of people. The community is just tired of the waiting. And I think we're pretty tired of seeing so many things from Destiny 1 come back that shouldn't have gotten removed in the first place, only to see them added back. It's exhausting. It is exhausting as a fan to continue to have to go through another set of big fixes to get the game back up to a good spot, like we're just going through Destiny 1 again. I saw a lot of "see it in September" comments today, and I don't blame people at all for saying that, because that's probably when having all of these changes together will feel impactful on the game as a whole. That's when having mods, gear, and Eververse and all these other things together will feel like the game has changed in a significant way. A couple of things here and there don't really do it. But that's where things need to start. Little things, moving up to big things. That's where you gotta start. I was, whelmed by what we saw today. Nothing life-changing immediately, but it's always nice to hear about what's coming. I think I can appreciate that as a gamer, but it's just exhausting playing the waiting game for so long, and it's just driving people to the brink, self included. Saw a lot of too little too late comments as well, and I get it. People are just tired. I liked the communication. I hope it keeps up. I really want to keep seeing articles like this and updates like this. It's nice. Maybe a few months from now, we'll look back and laugh, have a good chuckle. But right now, it just sucks to wait. Again. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.